As the rain still keeps pouring outside my window, making my summer days rather autumnal, I find myself drawn towards more pondering, more calmness, more stillness in my day-to-day life. Not the stagnant type of stillness though, but a rather peaceful, gentle serenity with a promise of lovely things yet to come. Most of my thoughts are the soul-searching, analyzing kind lately, filling the pages of my journal with questions I had unanswered for years and years until now. I seem to be slowly uncovering each question, peeling off layers little by little, sharing my thoughts with you, my kindred spirits, in the process of perpetual self-discovery. Today I want to share my thoughts about a subject that confused me for the longest time in my life. Talent. If there is one word that makes me feel a little bit confused and maybe slightly iffy, it's that. It's a good word, don't get me wrong, but it's the one I have the most difficult relationship with. We look at artists, musicians, photographers, even very good athletes, mathematicians, teachers, and think, oh, they are so talented at what they do. Or, when they do it, they make it look so easy. And then inevitably we follow up with, oh, I could never, I don't have a talent for that. I am at the very first chapter of this lovely book by Julia Cameron right now, The Artist's Way. And one thought that I'm about to paraphrase stood out to me so far. Perhaps the talent is nothing more than the audacity to go after the things you want or like. We all at some point start from zero, but through circumstances in life, through beliefs of others and then eventually our own, we begin to believe ourselves to be rather talentless or skillless or not very creative, which, in my opinion, isn't the case. I truly believe that every single one of us is an artist in our own way. Perhaps talent is a matter of bravery, effort, and learning ability combined, rather than a natural gift we acquire from thin air. We might be naturally inclined towards something, simply thanks to our personal characteristics and individuality. In my personal case, I was always somewhat naturally inclined towards creative activities. But frankly, not because I have an inherent ability to hold a camera or a brush, or my fingers naturally move in a way that produces music, but because I have been hyper-emotional and observant and aware of my surroundings since birth. I count it as a blessing and a curse. I have always been observant and had a very active or even reactive mind. On the other hand, I absolutely suck at anything to do with numbers, maths, or anything that requires meticulous type of attention. Through time, I figured out that I learn best by visual example and immediate repetition. It's enough for me to observe someone else do it, to be able to repeat an action with decent accuracy. You, for example, might have more of a naturally analytical and organized mind. You might be good at learning by reading books or listening to a podcast or a lecture. There is no good or bad way to learn. There are many ways how we naturally are able to receive and process information, and I tend to believe that our natural predispositions, what we might call a talent, are not actually attributes of a talent, but rather our mind's ability to process information and then use that information to hone a skill, artistic or not. Analytical mind and a creative mind are just simplified ways to describe your right brain, left brain inclinations. But it doesn't mean that as an analytical person, you'll only ever be good at maths, and as a creative person, you'll only ever excel at arts. I believe it simply means that to learn either one or the other, you have to understand what way of absorbing information is the easiest for you, and then apply it to whatever it is that you want to do. On a side note, I also don't believe that it's all black and white, but rather we are all a mix of both, analytical and creative. However, to simplify my point, I will refer to the opposite sides of a spectrum. Let's take painting as an example. To me, the best way to learn is visual and intuitive. I see and repeat. I am good at observing other people's process of painting and then replicating their steps without much extra information. In fact, extra information confuses me. I will figure it out as I go by doing. If your mind is more analytically inclined, you may find it easier to learn about theories and reasons behind each step. Take classes and organize your own processes before applying that knowledge step by step. If we apply this to any other task, for me it's easier to learn numbers, languages, or how to assemble a shelf by a visual example, when someone else might learn the same thing by reading or hearing. How often do we tell ourselves, I am not creative, I am not good with numbers, oh, I'm not very sporty. But that's not exactly true. No one is instantly good at anything. It takes time and effort to develop a skill. This is where we get to the best part, repetition. What I described above is simply the way to tailor that action to suit your needs. Pure predisposition will never get you anywhere without lots and lots of action. This is something my younger self never seemed to understand. Regardless of what your natural inclinations are, you will never be truly good without effort. You don't have to be the best at anything. You don't need to be naturally creative. When you know how you learn best and then utilize that method daily, that's when you are able to become truly good. It's important to remember that to be good at something, you have to be bad first. No level of talent or natural predisposition is gonna take you past that. You have to get there step by step, little by little, by picking up and putting together all these little pieces. By failing, by making mistakes, falling and getting back up on your feet again. By looking at your own journey without judgment and only ever comparing yourself today to you yesterday, not to anyone else. by being so deeply interested in every bit of the process, in good and in bad and in ugly. What are you willing to work for? What are you willing to fail for? To get frustrated for? To give all your love to? Sometimes it's okay to stop, to realize that something is not for you, that the action does not bring you joy. But please never stop simply because you believe that you are not talented. Real talent is very much a result of practice and a certain audacity to go for it. When an activity consumes you and you spend hours on hours, days on days doing that, figuring out a way to become good, it doesn't matter the speed. Don't compare your speed to someone else's. It doesn't matter how fast you become good. What matters is that you love the process. It consumes you fully. This journey, the action, the repetition is what makes you skilled. Others might see it as talent, but you know the effort that went into it. Keep going. One day, all of it will be worth it. Hello! I'm not sure if the subject of today's video is kind of odd or a bit serious. Maybe you will disagree with whatever I'm saying, because I feel like talent and skill is the subject that is very personal, I guess, to each of us. We all feel very differently on an emotional level about it. We all have a natural predisposition towards something, but I struggle to call it a talent. I feel like a talent is such a fickle type of word. I don't think, to me at least, it has a very good connotation. I think whenever we hear that someone is talented, we often disregard the action. We often disregard the effort. I think talent is very much what people see from the outside. You would never really call yourself talented because you know that you might have struggled with something or spent hours and hours on doing something. It's always a word that comes from the outside. I guess that's why I kind of struggle with accepting this word as a description of somebody's skill or artistic capabilities or any other mathematical, athletic, musical capabilities, you name it. Also, I truly do believe that every single one of us is artistic in some way. Anything can be done either creatively or not. It doesn't matter whether the action is inherently creative. This might be a somewhat unpopular belief, and I'm putting it out there on the internet for everyone to roast. So, yeah. I did start this book recently, The Artist Way by Julia Cameron. If you don't know what this book is about, I would describe it as a weekly guidance for a recovering artist. But it doesn't have to be an artist. It's for anyone who feels blocked and, I guess, unable or afraid to take action in whatever they want to do in their life. And hello, that's me. I can't say that I enjoy every single bit of this book so far. There are certain things which kind of I have to interpret, I guess, in a bit of my own way. But I wanted to read a few phrases or paragraphs that stood out to me so far. Very often, audacity, not talent, makes one person an artist. You don't have to be the best at anything to become an artist. You don't have to be the most natural, the most skilled, the most able person to do whatever it is you want to do. You have to have the audacity and you have to put the effort. Remember that in order to recover as an artist, you must be willing to be a bad artist. Give yourself permission to be a beginner. By being willing to be a bad artist, you have a chance to be an artist, and perhaps over time, a very good one. When I was a child, I did a lot of creative things, and perhaps I should say that I was lucky that I was allowed to do all of those creative things. From time to time in my childhood, I was called talented. That word never resonated with me because regardless of being called talented, I never actually achieved anything with those talents because they were not talents. Maybe to an extent there were natural predisposition, the way I see the world, without any effort, without developing a skill, not a talent. I couldn't get anywhere, and I was a child who did not understand that, and I learned it through a lot of mistakes, through a lot of pain, through a lot of rejection throughout my life and my career, and I don't really share it with anyone, I guess. I am not quite comfortable speaking about it yet on YouTube, so I really had to learn the hard way what real effort is.